Hello, hello! My name is Wolfataker, and welcome to the video. So, My Little Pony, Friendship is Magic. This show was, well, it was certainly something during my childhood. I was never much of a My Little Pony fan as a kid. It's something that I watched whenever there was nothing else on, but that's about it. I was very much a tomboy. I mostly only wanted to play video games, or go outside, or watch the original Teen Titans. But thinking about it now, I definitely was a horse kid, so it's kind of crazy that I wasn't interested in the show at the time. Wasn't until I got a bit older and started really growing in touch with myself and the things that I missed as a kid that I really started loving this show. And I think, just maybe, that's definitely grown even more as I am now an adult. Now let's get one thing straight. I absolutely love the original designs of the main six, so it was a bit hard for me to really do these redesigns without basically just making them look the same. But overall, I think I did a relatively good job at making them look different while also keeping some of their original charm. So starting off strong is Twilight, who happens to be my favorite. I wasn't entirely sure where to start with her. I knew that I wanted to make her look more like a princess, but also make her look more magical since her element is literal magic. I decided to put her hair up in a messy bun and give her a longer curved horn to really pull off her alicorn look. I gave her a unicorn beard and tail because I thought both would be pretty fitting for her. I was really trying to appeal to the mystical creature vibe here. I also made her a bit taller just to make her stand out a little bit more. I gave her slightly bigger wings and made them a bit more detailed, which is something I did for all the wings I drew. Next, I worked on her cutie mark. I thought extending it down her leg would really signify her magical power and her status as a princess. I then moved on to the line art, which was mostly just cleaning up the lines and making everything look much nicer, but I also fixed up her hooves and made them hairy, which I thought really added to her messy yet regal appearance. Next were the colors, which I kept mostly the same but made a few more changes than I did for any of the other main six. I kept her iconic purple coat and her hair, which I never realized how pretty the main color of her hair was until I was doing this drawing. I made her hoofs the darkest color that I got from her eyes, and then I moved on to adding the stripes of color into her hair. I kept the original stripes, but also added white stripes to match her mom. I made her horn and middle feathers multicolored to add in that last oomph of being a princess, and then I moved on to her cutie mark. Just to add, the little bit of blue is from her father. And there we go, my take on Twilight Sparkle. Next up is Rainbow Dash, who is my second favorite of the main six. I again didn't have much changes for her. Most of the changes I made for any of them was just adding some characteristics of their parents, but Rainbow already looks like her parents, so I really had to start thinking about her personality and her hobbies while changing her design. I made her slightly slimmer, yet made her back legs a bit buffer since she definitely uses them a lot to take off in height speeds. I gave her a short tail for a couple different reasons, one being that it just made some more sense since she's focused on flying. I gave her short hair for the very same reason. Her wings became slightly more detailed, but I mostly left them the same line art wise. I made her hair more spiky to give a nod to her lightning in the cutie mark, and then I gave her goggles, which I know is something that a lot of people give her, but it just makes so much sense for her. I started cleaning up the line art and changed her hoofs ever so slightly just to give her design a little something extra. Next were her colors, which I mostly kept the same too, other than lightening her hair just a little bit so it wasn't so hard to look at. I made her wings multicolored, the white only being a placeholder to make the later coloring easier to do. I gave her yellow hoofs like her father, and this was the first time that I realized that her eyes were pink. I guess I never really paid attention to her eye color before because this was a surprise to me. Now I'm sure you're all thinking, Wolfie, what's going on with her back hoofs and her legs? Well, my lovely viewer, when coming up with changes for her design, I thought it'd be really cool to add some kind of change to her design because of her success with Sonic Rainbow. And thus, I made it so that her color just got drained away in the back because the Sonic Rainbow was a lot of stress on her body. That's also part of the reason why her tail is cut short, because it was much longer when she did the Sonic Rainbow, and the end was also sucked a color, which Rainbow Dash thought was super cool, but ultimately she cut her tail short because it made flying easier. Next, I finally made the white of her wings rainbow, which I haven't fully decided if it's an effect of the Sonic Rainbow or if it's just something she was born with yet. Rainbow Dash is probably one of my favorite redesigns that I did. There's just something about it that's super pleasing to me, and I really love the ideas I came up with her design. Next is Rarity, who is my third favorite of the main 6. I knew a few changes I wanted to make to Rarity due to past design changes I've made so far, but overall I already really like Rarity's design as it is. I decided to make her a bit taller, and then I moved on to her hair, which I had a lot of trouble with. I really wanted to give her fancy ringlets and make her hair a bit curlier, but it was just so hard to do it and still have the elegant look that I wanted to keep, so I just ended up keeping her hair mostly the same, but adding a few loose strands here or there and making it look more detailed. I gave her a unicorn beard and tail because she's a unicorn, and I personally think it makes her look more elegant. I know a lot of people aren't fans of the unicorn beard, and that's perfectly fine, but I personally really like it. I gave her a curved horn, making it slightly bigger, but I made sure to make it not look too big since she's not an alicorn. I gave her some earrings because she definitely would be wearing them often, and then I moved on to her eyes, and let me tell you, I never realized how low her eyes were on her head until I was drawing her. It looked so odd that I just had to raise them a little bit. A recurring trait that I give them all so far are hairy hoofs because I just really like how it looks on them, and it gives me an extra trait to change and personalize for them. While I was cleaning up the line art, I decided to give Rarity downward pointed lines in her horn to match her gems and her cutie mark, which I think makes her look very nice. Then, moving on to color, I again mostly kept her original colors, but I decided to add some more color fading into her mane and tail, and I also added pink and much lighter purple stripes into her hair to match her mom and her sister. I then decided to add a purple and blue fade into her hoofs and her horn to just really tie together the elegant look she has going. Overall, I think Rarity is also one of my favorite designs. She just looks so pretty, and I'm really happy with how it came out. Next is Applejack. There were only 2 things that I definitely wanted to change with her. I wanted to make her legs a bit buffier, and I wanted to give her her mother's curly hair. The hair gave me some difficulty because I wasn't sure how to give her curly hair that didn't turn out looking exactly like her mom's, but I think it turned out quite nicely, especially when I put it in a braid. I once again stuck with her color palette, but I made her hoofs the same color as her father's, and I gave her her mother's hair ties, just like she has her father's hat. I debated making her cutie mark green apples instead of red, but ultimately, I think the red looks a lot better on her. Especially because I added the red stripes to her mane and tail, which come from her father. The orange stripes come from her mom. Applejack was definitely one of the ones with the simplest changes that altogether made her look really nice. I definitely liked her design when I finished it, but it's really grown on me even more since I first made it. Next redesign is Pinkie Pie. I only really had one major change that I wanted to make for her, but everything else really just fell into place once I started drawing. She was definitely the hardest one for me simply because of her hair. I really wanted to do a messy ringlet / curly hair, which just gave me so much trouble. I literally had to go look up lots of examples just to make sure I got it looking at least somewhat right. But overall, I think it turned out pretty good. The major change that I wanted to make to her was to give Pinkie Pie wings, because she originally was supposed to be a Pegasus, which literally just makes so much sense to me. So I just had to include them in this redesign. I also thought about making her just a little bit shorter, but ended up not doing that because it kind of made her look like a kid rather than an adult. The next thing I knew that she needed was to make her super fluffy, which is where I found out that curly-haired horses are actually a thing. Cleaning up the line art took a lot longer than any of the other ones so far, and I actually think that I took the most time on her, which makes a lot of sense when you look at the drawing I did. Once again, I stuck with her main palette, but I really did want to make a few changes here and there. I gave her mismatched color hooves, yellow and blue like her cutie mark. I put white as a placeholder again for her wings to make the later coloring easier, and then I added blue and yellow stripes into her hair. I really wanted to go for the colorful, messy, and fun appearance because that's literally what Pinkie Pie embodies. I made her wings yellow and blue too because I wasn't sure what other color I wanted to do. Well, other than pink, but that probably would have been a bit too much. But I think it looks really nice. When I was first drawing Pinkie, I really wasn't sure if I liked it or not, but I decided to trust the process, and I'm really glad I did because I think it turned out so nicely. She's just so fun and bright, and overall I really love it. Last, but certainly not least, Fluttershy. I'm very conflicted with this final design. I knew I wanted to give her back her awkward tallness she had going on when she was younger, and I knew for sure that I wanted to make her a deer instead of a pony, but past that, I wasn't sure what I wanted to do with her. I think not having a proper plan with her is why the design kind of came out messy. I gave her braids and fawn markings and of course antlers, and then I decided to give her flowers in her hair, which definitely fit her vibe. I cleaned up her line art, and initially I really like what I had designed so far. Unsurprisingly, I stuck with her original palette, but I gave her green hoofs to match her dad, and I decided to make her antlers a light pinkish white, which I also made all the flowers and her fawn markings the same color. I added darker pink and green stripes to her hair and mane to match her parents, and I finished off the middle of the flowers. I really liked the idea I had going for her, but there's just something about the finished design that just really doesn't appeal to me. So there we have it, my main 6 redesigns. I had such a fantastic time doing this, and I really loved getting in touch with my inner child again. I know for sure that I'm going to do this again. I really want to redesign Princess Celestia or Luna or any other character. I definitely think that I'll also redesign the main 6, but that's gonna be far off in the future, most likely. I'm mostly satisfied with all their designs. I definitely would rework Fluttershy the most, but that's future me's problem. If you made it this far, thank you. I really hope you enjoyed this video, and I really hope to make more videos like this in the future. Bye for now.